Welcome back, English pros. Have you ever noticed how English seems full of verbs that seem familiar, but really aren't? I'm Grant with Business as Usual English, and today we're breaking down 10 of the most confusing verb pairs in business English, so you can stop second guessing and start speaking with confidence. We'll look at real examples, common mistakes, and even use some clips from popular movies and TV shows to help you see these verbs in action and know exactly when to use each one. And by the way, if you want more examples and tips and even practice exercises, I've put together a free PDF that goes with this video. I'll tell you how to get it later on. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the difference between raise and rise. Both are related to things going up, but there's a small and important difference. When something is raised, it means someone or something causes it to go up. For example, if you have a question in school, you may raise your hand. Or if you rent an apartment, the landlord might raise your rent every year. Let's take a look at this clip.
You raised my risk, but you also raised my reward.
He says, you raised my risk, but you also raised my reward, meaning Mike caused his risk and his reward to increase. On the other hand, we use rise when something goes up on its own, or more accurately, when we don't mention who caused it. For example, prices are rising due to inflation. Now, of course, someone or something caused that to rise, but since we didn't name them specifically, we use rise and not raise. Another example, the sun rises every morning. It happens naturally, so we use rise. To give you a better idea, here's a couple examples of both verbs in one sentence. Prices are rising because Trump decided to raise tariffs. I asked my boss to raise my salary because prices are rising. Same situation, but rise focuses on the results and raise focuses on the cause. Let's move on to the next pair. Number 2, let's talk about the difference between say and tell. Both are used when we share information, but the difference is all about how we structure the sentence. It's pretty much a grammar difference. We use say when we're talking about the words themselves without mentioning who they're spoken to. For example, he said it was important, or she said she was on her way. A common mistake is for students to say, he said me, or she said me, something like this. If you want to include the person who is receiving the info, i.e. the object of the sentence, you must use tell. So the correct way to say this is, he told me he was going to be late, or she told me it was important. So if you mention the listener, you must use tell. And like the last example, you can use both in the same sentence. So he said he'd be late, but he didn't tell me directly. Same idea. Say focuses on the message, and tell includes the person who heard it. Got it? Quick pause. If you're finding this helpful and want more examples, collocations, and practice sentences, I've made a free PDF that you can download below. Just click the link in the description, drop your email in the box, and you'll get instant access. Plus, you'll be added to my email list where I send out extra lessons, general tips, and information about our top secret English Pros Club that will be opening near the end of August. No spam, just smart English tips. Links below. Now back to the video. Number 3, let's talk about the difference between lose and waste. Both are negative, and both involve something disappearing, but for different reasons. We use lose when something is gone and you didn't mean for it to happen. Like when you lose your keys. So you could lose an object, you could lose time, or you could even lose an opportunity. For example, I can't find my keys. I think I lost them. We lost a major client last month. He lost his chance to get promoted because he showed up late to the meeting. Now, a common mistake with these two is to say someone is losing your time. The correct way to say this is that someone is wasting your time. So waste is used when something is used in an unproductive or careless way. So you still had it, but you didn't make good use of it, and now you don't have it anymore. For example, we wasted a lot of time in that meeting. Don't waste your money on things you're not going to use. She felt like she had wasted 3 years in the wrong job. Let's check out this clip for more context.
Michael, I know exactly how much time and manpower are wasted in this branch.
So here, the boss is saying that a lot of time and labor is used inefficiently in this branch, and he knows this because he used to work there. So the main difference is this. If something is gone unexpectedly, like your phone or your keys, they are lost. But if something could have been used better but wasn't, it was wasted. You can even use both in the same sentence. He lost a full day of work because he wasted his time scrolling Instagram. Number 4, let's talk about the difference between hope and expect. Both are about looking forward to the future, but the attitude behind them is a little bit different. So when we use hope, we're talking about something we want to happen, but we're not sure if it will. There's emotion, uncertainty, and sometimes a bit of optimism. For example, I hope the meeting ends early. We hope the client says yes to our proposal. I hope you had a good weekend. Now, expect is stronger, and it means that we think something is likely or even supposed to happen. There's often a logical reason behind it or a sense that we're planning for it. For example, we expect the report by Friday. They're expecting a big crowd at the event. I expected more support from the team. So let's check out this clip for even more context.
Worked out better than I expected.
Here, he's just saying he got better results than he thought he would get. Better than expected. So here's the key difference. Hope is emotional and uncertain. Expect is logical and based on probability or plan. Let's check out a sentence with both verbs in one. We hope to finish by noon, but we expect it will take all day. Same situation here. Hope shows what we want and expect shows what we think will actually happen. Number 5. Now let's talk about the difference between avoid and prevent. Both are used when we're trying to stop something bad from happening, but they work a little bit differently. We use avoid when we change our own actions to stay away from something. It's more personal, about not doing something or staying out of a bad situation. For example, I try to avoid meetings that don't have a clear agenda. He avoided eye contact during the interview. We left early to avoid traffic. Now, prevent is used when you stop something from happening altogether, often by taking action or creating a barrier. For example, good planning can prevent mistakes. The new software helps prevent fraud. Washing your hands helps prevent illness. So the difference is this. Avoid is about you staying away from something, and prevent is more active. It's about you stopping something from happening or controlling a situation. And here's one more example. We avoided a crisis because our manager prevented the mistake before it happened. Number 6, let's talk about the difference between advise and warn. Both are used when we give information to help someone make a decision, but the tone and intention are different. We use advise when we're giving helpful suggestions or recommendations, usually in a calm or polite way. For example, I advised her to speak directly with the client. Our lawyer advised us not to sign yet. Can you advise me on the best course of action? Now, warn is a bit more serious. We use it when we're trying to alert someone to danger, risk, or a negative consequence, often with a stronger or more urgent tone, like in this clip here.
I'm just gonna warn you, and I say this to all my clients. You might not like what I find.
So to give context for this clip, the man with the glasses was hired as a private investigator to find out if someone's wife was cheating on them. So he warns them, you may not like what I find. A few more examples. I warned him not to miss the deadline. They were warned about possible delays. The sign warns people not to enter. Here's the key difference. Advise is used when we offer guidance or suggestions, and warn is used when there's a risk, threat, or something bad could happen. And of course, one more example with both words in one sentence. The manager advised us to stay on schedule and warned that late projects won't be accepted. same conversation, but advise is supportive and warn is a caution. Number 7, borrow and lend. Let's talk about the difference between borrow and lend. They describe the same situation, but from two different perspectives. We use borrow when you take something that isn't yours and plan to return it. So most people, when they go to the bank, they are borrowing money from the bank to buy a house. You may ask your coworker, can I borrow a pen? You may borrow money from a friend to pay for lunch. The most common mistake here is students often say, can you borrow me $10? But instead, they should say, can you lend me $10? Because lend is the opposite. It's when you give something to someone and you're expecting to get it back. So typically, people borrow and the bank lends. So I could say to my friend, I will lend you $10, or the bank may lend you money to buy an apartment. Does that make sense? So remember, if you take something temporarily, use borrow. And if you give something temporarily, use lend. One example to tie it together. So I borrowed $20 from John and he agreed to lend me more money next week. So remember, borrow is from the receiver's point of view and lend is from the giver's. Number 8, let's talk about remember and remind. They're closely related. Both are about memory, but the direction of the action is different. We use remember when you think of something yourself. It comes from your own mind without anyone helping. For example, I remembered to send the invoice this morning. Or, do you remember her name? I forgot it. Or, he didn't remember the meeting was today. Now, the most common mistake here is students often say, can you remember me something? Can you remember me to send an email? But this is incorrect. The correct word to use here is remind. Can you remind me? So remind is used when someone or something helps you to remember. Like in this clip here, where he says someone reminded him, helped him remember that the foundation of everything is family.
Sheila, he reminded me that the foundation of everything is family.
Make sense? Here's a few more examples. Can you remind me to email the client after lunch? This alarm reminds me to take my medicine. She reminded her team about the deadline today. So one more reminder, remember is something you do without any help, and remind is when someone or something helps you to remember. Here's one more example to tie it all together. Thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot to remember that on my own. Number 9, win and earn. Let's talk about the difference between win and earn. Both are about getting something, but the way you get it is what matters. We use win when you get something through competition, luck, or a contest. It's usually fast and usually not based on effort. For example, like when you win the lottery, you just buy a ticket and you get lucky and you win the lottery. Or maybe you win money at the casino. And you could also say that you won a contract in business. So we won the contract after the bidding process. Now, a common mistake here is when students use win to talk about the amount of money they earn as a salary. So in this case, it's better to use earn, and earn is used when you get something through hard work or effort. It's more about what you deserve. So for example, he earned a promotion after 2 years of great work. We earned their trust by being consistent. And she earned $80,000 last year. So one more time, win is about success in a contest or competition, and earn is about getting something because you worked for it. One more example to tie it all together. She won the client's attention, but she had to earn their loyalty over time. 10. Let's talk about the difference between discuss and argue. Both involve talking about something, but the tone and the intention are completely different. We use discuss when we're having a calm and respectful conversation, usually to share ideas or to solve a problem. For example, we need to discuss the budget before the meeting. They discussed the pros and cons of the project. Let's discuss it as a team. Now, argue is much more emotional. It means people are disagreeing, often with tension and frustration. It's not about talking, it's about clashing. For example, they argued about who was responsible for the failed contract. The coworkers were arguing during the meeting. I don't want to argue. I just want to understand. So here's the key. Discuss is about sharing ideas. Argue is about conflicting opinions and usually a raised voice. Here's one example with both in one sentence. We tried to discuss the issue calmly, but it turned into an argument. Same topic. So remember, discuss is cooperative and argue is confrontational. Now that you've learned all 20 verbs, the big question is, how do you actually remember them? Well, you have to study them actively. And the simplest way to do that is to take a few minutes right now and create your own example sentences. Try to make them relevant to your life or your job. Then next time you're in an English speaking environment, challenge yourself and actually use one. You can drop your sentences in the comments below and I'll correct them. Or you can use an AI tool like ChatGPT to check your grammar and make sure you're using the verbs correctly. I know it seems simple and maybe even sounds boring, but this is the most effective way to improve. Just taking notes and reviewing them trains your input. It may make you better at understanding and reading, but if you want to improve your speaking, you need to train your output, your speaking and your writing. And to do that, you have to practice producing the language. If you haven't grabbed the free practice PDF yet, now's the time. Link is in the description. So thank you so much for watching and subscribe for more lessons just like this one. See you next time.